Welcome everyone, this is your host Abraham L. Jaguar, a professional game master. First of all, this channel is proudly sponsored by Seven Sagas and their tabletop RPG Ars Mechanica. This is the 30 years war waged by Titanic walking engines. It even comes with solo rules. You will find it in the description and in the pinned comment. This channel is also proudly sponsored by Gates of Krystalia, the isekai style tabletop role-playing game. It is card-driven, available in 6 languages, and they have recently released the Last Deux advanced rulebook. This optional expansion brings many things to the table, such as setting details, character development information, isekai tropes such as the school trip, the romance rules, the beach trip. You even have solo rules to play this as a solo or cooperative experience without a game master. You will find it in the description and in the pinned comment. This channel is also proudly sponsored by Dead Studios, the publishers and developers of Dames of Asstoria, a tabletop role-playing game where you play as monster girls experiencing high adventure in a world that doesn't fully accept them. They have recently released Daughters of Lamb. This is a pay-what-you-want tabletop RPG, where you get to play as cybernetic nuns with guns, looking for the missing pieces of their AI god. You will find it in their website, the link will be in the description and in the pinned comment. This channel is also proudly sponsored by the Red Room Publishing. Please check out their store for exclusive tabletop RPG products and check out their recent release, Final Frontier. This is a streamlined sci-fi tabletop role-playing game where you get to explore space for justice, for profit, for both. You will find it in their website, the link will be in the description and in the pinned comment as well. Today, wow, I didn't, let's see. There we go. Today, this is the first time that my image has remained minimized on the side. That's weird. We are taking a look at a really cool tabletop RPG. I am actually recruiting players for it. We have 3 spots available. Hopefully to get a party of 4 players or perhaps even 3. And this tabletop RPG is called Vampyrvania. This is pretty much Castlevania 3 in tabletop RPG format. There are other tropes, other sensibilities from games in the series, but it is mostly Castlevania 3. Of course, this is not an official game and this is not trying to be the Castlevania tabletop RPG, but it does take a lot of inspiration from the Castlevania games. And like I said, I am currently recruiting. It is a very simple system, you don't need to purchase the rulebook, although the game is so good and so affordable that my player, one of the players participating, Nikos, hi Nikos, if you're watching this, he purchased the rulebook immediately because he liked the concept so much. He's going to be playing as a Grand Dynasty type of character, you know, the rogue pirate looking guy that can climb walls, although he is adding his own flair, his style to it. Just for starters, he's wielding an axe. So definitely consider joining this campaign. I want to start it around October for the spooky season. You will find my email in the description and in the pinned comment of this video. Highlander82z at gmail.com. Now let's talk about the quality of the PDF. Everything is well written, organized and explained. The document is fully bookmarked and hyperlinked. It is only 97 pages, so this makes the document super easy to navigate. The font has that sort of video game feel to it, like pixelated font, very easy on the eyes and very thematic. Although in the case of the table of contents, which is fully hyperlinked, I must remind you, the font is like super plain, like the plainest font you can imagine, but I prefer clarity and easy navigation instead of other things, right? The illustrations, some of them, a few of them, are stock art, Most of the images are designed for this game. They feel a bit like comic booky, almost cartoony. It reminds me of those comic books that used to appear in the old video game magazines, like when they were talking about Castlevania 1, 2, or 3, and sometimes they added like a little figures, little characters. It's a bit on the chibi side, just a bit. And so overall, the quality is super impressive, really good. And now let's talk about the contents. This book is its own setting. This is not Transylvania from Castlevania. This features the Principality of Nachtlandia. And of course it is cursed and there is a vampire lord, not Dracula, but another vampire lord dominating everyone, trying to enslave or tyrannize, become a complete tyrant over the people, with werewolves, ghosts, mummies, vampires, every single Hammer horror trope, and even some Cthulhu or Lovecraftian type of creatures as well. And so it's all about the boo, haunted house, bump in the night, you know. But you are the courageous hunters. You take up your whip, of course, your whip, your sword, your staff, your holy water, whatever it is necessary to take on these creatures. So this is all about the 8-bit, 16-bit console era, but like I said, there are also some flourishes from other games in the series. This game can be played with various people, but it is recommended that 2 to 6 players per session, at least 2 players, for that teamwork. The setting and theme, of course, like I said, this is like between 12th to 16th century Europe, with regions you would expect to resemble Germany, Hungary, or Romania. And there are even some Japanese folklore and traditions tossed in there, just like in the Castlevania games. This is all about gothic horror, but with a lot of action as well. The Vampire Master is the game master, and you have the player characters, and here they give you a really good introduction to the basics of tabletop RPGs. I remember there were a couple of things that I considered, that could have been better. I think there was one time when the players, the book told you, the player describes what he wants to do, but it's not what you want to do, it's what you are doing. Like I could want to do many things, but if I don't do it, it doesn't happen in the game, right? It's not what you want to do. You describe what your character is doing, what the character is attempting, the actions that you are taking, right? Now here you have details on encounters, rounds, turns, actions. Very simple, very easy to understand. The round could feature like a small instance, like 6 seconds. And each round, each character usually gets 2 actions per turn. And 1 turn per round. Although there could be some exceptions depending on powers and abilities. Now to make a check or roll for pretty much anything in the game, be it outside or inside of combat, you roll a d20 and you add bonuses or penalties. And in most cases, not all of them, but in most cases, if you meet or exceed 13, it's a success. So the system is very simple. No matter the action that you're attempting, it's always roll d20 and add some modifiers. Now when it comes to other types of dice, you also have the d4, d6, d8, d10 and d12. This is mostly used for your ammo, when you're using your sub-weapon, you know, like in Castlevania. You're using your axes or your holy water, your boomerang crosses. This is handled similarly to Black Hack type of games. That is, when you use your sub-weapon, you roll your die, and if you roll a certain number, the die, the ammo is depleted a step. So let's say that you had a d8 in ammo. That is your ammo, d8. You use your throwing knife. You roll your d8, and oh no, you rolled a 1. If I remember correctly, it's a 1. And your ammo goes down 1 step from d8 to d6. If you use another sub weapon, again, the next round, you roll your d6. Oh, it went down again to d4 until the ammo is depleted. But this means that if you're very lucky, it you won't be spending all of your ammo so quickly. You could even play an entire scenario, theoretically, without depleting your ammo. There are also abilities that tell you sometimes a 1 in a 6 chance you get to attack again, or 1 in a 6 chance you get to use this other power. Now let me verify that about these sub weapons, because if I remember, I haven't run this game. I have read the entire rulebook, but like I said, I'm about to run the campaign. But when it comes to using the sub weapons, I do want to verify. Here it is, the hard die. Yes, it was correct. I was correct. When a 1 is rolled, your ammo goes down. Now, back to the game. Like I said, you carry out those checks. But there are also other nuances. For example, if you roll a 20, it's usually an exceptional result, like a critical in combat. And a 1, it's usually pretty bad, depending on the situation. The character attributes are quite simple. You have might, precision, magic, and agility. They are pretty self-explanatory. Just to clarify things, precision represents your dexterous ability and aim, and agility is more about speed, jumping, or leaping. When it comes to favor or disfavor, this is a bit like Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition. Sometimes when you have, not exactly, but when you have favor, you roll an additional die. This is a d6, you add it to the roll. So it's not about removing the highest or lowest die, it's about rolling an additional die and either adding or subtracting that die from your roll, from the d20 plus modifiers. When it comes to life and death, you have the super gritty rules that if you end up with 0 life points, you are dead. But there is the optional death rules, and I like this better because it fits the heroic theme of the Belmonts and the Castlevania heroes. When you are reduced to 0, you are simply unconscious, disabled, and another character must get to you and make a roll to no, it's without even making a roll, stabilizing you so that you can keep on fighting later on. But yeah, you're hurt, you're going to need some healing, and of course, what would Castlevania be without some wall meat? There are walls that if you destroy them, you find meat behind them and they can heal you. You can also be healed by other things. For example, once per stage you can bind your wounds to receive a certain number of points of healing. You can also rest, of course, and when you finish a stage or perhaps you defeat a mini-boss, you can get either the Crimson or Azure Orbs that restore all lost life and may even level you up. Now let's talk about the archetypes. First, you have these are kind of like the character classes. You have the Slayers. This is the Belmonts. The Belmonts. Even if you see the guy with the sword, you can play as Simon, Trevor, whoever. You can even see the whip. Take a look at the hip. He has a whip right there. So this character is all about melee, close quarters combat. This is about holding the line. I will talk about holding the line later on. And so it is specialized on using any weapon, any sub-weapon, although no grimoires, no magic. So if you wanted to play as a Belmont, this is it. The next one is the Grand Dynasty type of archetype. This is about a scoundrel. This is the scoundrel class. Thieves, cutthroats, spies. You are really good at climbing, very agile. You are limited in the use of your weapons, a bit more tied towards precision, finesse, agility. You may not use magic, but like I said, it's all about like being very agile, spelunking, attacking sneakily. And you can even, after making a melee attack with a quick weapon or ranged attack roll with a sub weapon, you have a 1 in a 6 chance to make a free additional attack of the same type. The Slayer also has that when it comes to holding the line. We will talk about that later on. And he has a chance of making a melee attack roll as well. When it comes to the magicians, this is sci-fi Belnades. Or even if I don't think that these archetypes are tied to a particular gender. This is not like, let's say, like an Amazon, that only women can be Amazons. You can be a male or female magician. If you wanted to play like Albert, the alchemist from a Bloodstained Ritual of the Night, you can use the magician for that if you want. Magicians, they are all about magic, but they are terrible when it comes to fighting without magic. Their dagger, their staff, they're not like the worst, but you want to use your magic, your sub weapons. And after making a melee attack roll with a quick weapon or magic attack roll, there is actually a chance of making a free additional attack of the same type. You're also quite knowledgeable when it comes to reading, writing, deciphering strange texts, documents. Now, then we have the Vampire. This is Alucard. Of course, half vampire, the Vampire. This class, to be perfectly frank, as long as you stick to certain circumstances, it feels a bit overpowered. Your weaknesses lie in the typical vampire weaknesses. You need blood to survive. The locals don't like you very much. In daylight, you suffer a penalty to a random attribute, but of course you want to stick to traveling during the night, right? This character is limited in his weapon use, unlike Alucard that can wield all sorts of weapons, at least in Symphony of the Night, not in Castlevania 3. You are limited to dagger, spear, staff, or sword, but then you have your vampire abilities. You can turn into a bat, you can turn into mist, you can turn into wolf, you can cast fireballs. Of course, you are still limited by your ammo die, but the Vampire class looks really cool. To create a character, you just assign points to attributes, you add personal details, you can randomly determine these or choose. You can determine your physical description, eye color, hair color, etc. And when it comes to weapons and equipment, you have a lot of main weapons and sub-weapons that resemble the weapons that you would expect to find in Castlevania. They are all here. You have axes, you have whips, you have swords, you have hammers, and they all have their traits. In the case of the whip, it is a decent weapon, but the great thing about it is that it is quick and it has traversal. This means that just like Simon in Castlevania 4 or Super Castlevania, you can use your whip to swing from chandeliers and whatnot. So it's going to assist you in making jumps. And quick weapons can be used to catch foes off guard. You always apply favor to the first attack roll made with these weapons. Although in Castlevania the whip is not that fast. When it comes to sub-weapons, you have holy water, like I said, the pocket watch to stop time. But every time you use them, you need to make your roll to see if the ammo is being depleted, right? There is a certain level of surrealness that you need to accept for this game. For example, like I said, the wall meat, right? Who places, why is there meat inside of a wall of bricks or stone? Or in the case of hearts, when you take a heart, your ammo goes up, huh? But that's the charm of it. This is like a video game, surreal world, and you can justify it however you like. In my case, in my campaign, I am going to justify it as the hearts being actual hearts of heroes of the past, and when you touch them, you absorb their holy power, and the heroes will provide ammo when you need it. So in the case of the wall meat, it could be some sort of alchemical process. Maybe an alchemist used a strange formula to preserve meat for all eternity inside behind the brick wall and placed that as emergency rations. In the case of the candles, the floating candles, well, magically the candles are perhaps held by will-o'-the-wisps or ghosts or whatever. And why do the candles turn into hearts? Well, maybe again an alchemist transmuted the candle into hearts at one time, or rather the hearts of heroes into candles, so that worthy heroes would find them and benefit from their power. You have grimoires for the sci-fi Belnades type of players, the Earth Grimoire, the Ice Grimoire. You can use them in all sorts of ways. For example, in the case of the Earth Grimoire, you can create platforms to jump on them. In the case of the Ice Grimoire, you can freeze enemies and even shatter them. And you also have details on the vampire fireballs. Just like Alucard, son of Dracula, you can move around shooting your fireballs. Now, you also have to consider the light when there are torches around. You need a source of light, perhaps a bonfire. When it comes to platforming, it is highly encouraged in this game that you jump, you try to jump. Usually you need agility to do this, but I would also recommend that in some cases perhaps rely on might to represent that strength that you need to jump, but agility in most cases is going to apply. There could be consequences if you fail the jump. You need to make your check, and if you fail, you suffer an injury, you fall down to another level, perhaps like a pit filled with zombies, who knows. But if you are successful in your jumps, it is recommended that you give the player favor in their next attack, or I will even award automatic successes at times. In Castlevania, those jumps give you a great advantage. The position is everything, right? Now, when it comes to combat, like I said, it is carried through rounds, each side taking a turn. But when it comes to boss monsters, they always act first at the top of the round. So you do not determine initiative. Initiative is quite random. You roll a d6 and the side that rolls the highest goes first. Although I would recommend to add some modifiers if the players are preparing some clever ambushes, right? Your actions include moving, attacking with your main weapon, your sub-weapon, using a special ability or power. But there is a very interesting thing here. Hold the line. Hold the line is about waiting, like in your typical Dungeons and Dragons. You could describe, I prepare myself with my hammer in front of the archway, ready to strike the first enemy to approach the zone, right? So now any enemy that approaches you, you strike that enemy before anything else happens. But you are limited in the number of attacks that you can carry out. For example, here it says, combatants can hold the line to restrict the movement of nearby enemies. They spend an action on their turn to assume a defensive stance that allows them to make a melee attack against all foes who enter or pass through the area immediately adjacent or within weapon reach to them until the next turn. Each attack made after the first while holding the line suffers this favor, but the Slayers, they are not affected by this. That's why I say that they are melee combat machines. You can also carry out special combat maneuvers, all sorts of teamwork or coordinated actions. But here is the bad explanation. Here it says, we want to hold the overturned table against the door to keep the zombies from breaking through. Who are you talking to? We want? Like, excuse me, Mr. Game Master, Mr. Vampire Master, can I do? No, there is no Game Master. There is no player. There are no players. Only the game world and the player characters and non-player characters. So instead, I like talking to no one in particular. No, you can do it in character, right? Come on, Roger, help me. Let's put this table against the door, right? Or if you don't want to voice act, Joe the Slayer tells Roger to help him put the table against the door. Or you can describe, like I said, it's a combination of describing, speaking in character if you wish, or describing what you are saying. So no need to can my friend here kneel down and use his shield as a platform so they can jump on the shield and use it as a platform? No. You tell in game in character. Frederick, quickly, let me use your shield as a step to get on top of that platform. And Frederick, right away, of course. And he crouches and puts the shield, you see. And here you have explanation on zones, ranges, movement. It's all very abstract. That is, something could be near or far or distant. This is perfect for mind's eye, for using the mind's eye when you play the game. Then you have the section detailing the secrets of the Vampire Master. Oh, here it is. Yes, this is all about the Game Master section, the Vampire Master knowledge. This is not for the players. This is all about advice on how to run the game, create campaigns. Usually the preferred number of campaigns is 6 to 8 stages. This also allows the players to level up because when you level up as a player character, you get advancements to your attribute, to your maximum life. You can increase or enhance your abilities, existing abilities. And later on, it's all about just gaining more life. So that way they don't become too bloated with things. The characters progress in a simple but effective way. You also have details on how to adjust the difficulty. Most of the adventures, official adventures for this game, are made for 3 to 5 player characters. But if you have less, you have tips on how to reduce the difficulty for that. If you have more, you have tips on how to raise the difficulty. When it comes to, you also have details on the towns, where to spend money, the prices, the costs, some rumor tables, how to deal with the death of player characters. If a player character dies, the player creates a newly created character, but that player character is going to be quite weak compared to the others because of the level up, right? And so here you have advice on how to use the Azure Orbs at key moments, perhaps after defeating a mini-boss or found during the course of an adventure. The weaker characters could find Azure Orbs that allow them to level up, to quickly get to the level of the other members of the group. You also have many traps that you have seen in many Castlevania games, such as stairs, rapid rushing water, you have quicksand, spikes, pendulum traps, breakable blocks. You know, the ones like in Castlevania, those floating platforms, you stand on top of them and they turn to dust. You have to jump immediately from that platform to another platform. You also have details on various items and power-ups that could give you various advantages. Increase, for example, the damage of your attacks. You also have details on normal items, like I said, the hearts, but also magical jewelry, how to handle traveling segments, random encounters, and there are so many monsters here. I'm going to avoid spoilers, but pretty much everything that you have seen throughout the years in the Castlevania games. You have the typical bats, skeletons, but you also have some mythos-inspired creatures. Some bosses from the various Castlevania games make their appearance here, but with other names, of course. Just to give you like a classical example, Legion. Do you remember? Well, it's called the Legion Sphere. But you remember that sphere made out of naked homunculi type of corpses? That is here, and you have, of course, the Vampire Lord. And the Vampire Lord, as expected, has a monstrous transformation. So everything is included here. And you even have a starting scenario called Destinies Aflame. Really good scenario, following the tropes of Castlevania. And even if you want to modify some sections of it, it is very easy. If you think, you know what, that reminds me of that level in Rondo of Blood or Dracula X, where you can jump on top of the platform, or maybe no, I want a level more similar to the Clock Tower in Castlevania 3. And by the way, there is an official Clock Tower scenario that has already been released. But the adventure is really good, incredible value for this document. And at the end of the document, you have a rules reference or cheat sheet, your character sheet. And that's pretty much it. What do I think? What do I think about Vampyrvania? A tremendously awesome tabletop RPG. And I cannot put emphasis enough on this. I am currently recruiting, at the time of this video, I am currently recruiting players. You only need a webcam, you need a microphone, and as I always say in all of my recruitment ads, no wokesters. No fucking wokesters. So overall, my highest recommendation for Vampyrvania, one of the greatest video game inspired tabletop RPGs that I have ever seen. And they are still supporting this. I have purchased the Clock Tower scenario, really good. There is another scenario that is like a cloister. And there are hits of other scenarios coming up, although, and I understand why, everybody is pretty busy nowadays, although the scenarios are not coming out like very quickly, if you're getting this thinking that there is a complete campaign coming up soon, I think they're going to need at least 1 or 2 years to complete the campaign, because they're bringing up the scenarios like months at a time. The next scenario that features like a ghostly galleon is coming out on 2026, so it's still a long time, right? So I think in most cases you will want to, just like me, design your own campaign. But I am definitely using the included scenario, the clock tower scenario, and the cloister one as well. So my highest recommendation: simple system with enough depth without becoming like mid-crunch. This is still in the rules light category, just barely approaching the mid-crunch. The theme is so strong. You have a setting that stands apart from Transylvania, from Castlevania. I can't recommend this game enough. And again, if you want to participate in the campaign, we have 3 spots available. If you want to play the Vampire or the Slayer or the caster, sci-fi Belnades type of character, you could also play as a scoundrel. But Nikos, the player that is has already signed up for the campaign, he's going to be playing that. So I think a variety is the spice of campaigns of parties in tabletop RPGs. So once again, thank you for watching my videos. I hope you found this video informative and entertaining. Don't forget to leave a like, comment, subscribe. You'll find the link to the game in the description of this video and in the pinned comment. No, in the description, that's fine. And thank you so much to those of you that are going the extra mile to support the channel. If anyone else wishes to further support the channel, consider joining as a member using the super thanks button. Take a look at the information in the description and in the pinned comment. This has been your host, Abraham L. Jaguar, a professional game master. And remember, in tabletop role-playing games, it's not about what you want your characters to do. It's about what your characters are doing. Once again, thank you and see you later.